Thank you for joining us on Zambia Today. My name is Faith Katai. The Ministry of Green Economy and Environment, in collaboration with African Union Commission, AUC, and African Center of Meteorological Applications for Development, have organized the 21st Africa Climate Outlook Forum with a focus on El Nino 2026, back-to-back with the Continental Climate Sector Working Group and the launch of the Africa State of Climate 2025. The forum is running from 15th to 19th June 2026, being held at Pamozi Hotel in Lusaka. And to tell us more today about this forum and to get an update on the El Nino 2026, my guest in the studio is Director of the Zambia Meteorological Department, Mr. Edson Konde. Director, welcome to Zambia Today.
Thank you for having me.
Sure, briefly explain to us about the ongoing forum at Taj Pamozi Hotel, which is tagged 21st Africa Climate Outlook Forum.
Thank you very much. So, like you've put it, this is a forum that has been organized by the Ministry of Green Economy and Environment, coordinating with the African Union Commission and the ACMAD. And so we've brought different people across Africa, scientists, including the World Meteorological Organization, just to look at the projected El Nino 2020 and its influence on the 2026-2027 rainy season across Africa. So that's basically what we are looking at. We've convened so that we can look at what is this projection, what is it going to do in terms of the impact on the different sectors, on agriculture, on water resources, on health, and many other issues, impacts that may arise from what we are projecting.
Okay, so who is actually participating, or who is expected to participate in this forum?
So in this forum, we have regional climate centers, WMO regional climate centers from SADC, from IGAD, from ECOWAS, and we also have the regional economic blocks, ECOWAS itself, SADC, ICPAC, and the northern region. So all those are represented at Pamozi, and so that we can discuss together what are the regional impacts that may arise from what we are projecting as one of the strongest El Ninos recorded.
Wonderful. So what are some of the expected outcomes from this forum?
So basically, at the end of the period of the forum, we will issue a statement, an outlook, just outlining or describing what we are anticipating to happen in terms of the climate, in terms of rainfall, in terms of temperatures across the different regions of Africa, and also the expected impacts that may arise because of that projected rainfall. We are also going to release what we are calling the State of Climate for Africa, just giving us the historical perspective, the historical trends of climate in Africa and the different regions across Africa. That will be released by our Permanent Secretary, Dr. Daud Chibamba, but of course, together with the AUC, the WMO, that's the World Meteorological Organization, and ACMAD.
Great. I've noted one of the forecasts during this forum is on the El Nino 2026. Kindly give us an update on the El Nino phenomenon. When are we even expecting it?
So I'll give that perspective in respect to Zambia. So generally, what we have these cycles. Sometimes we hear we have La Nina, sometimes we have El Nino. So these are what we call climate drivers. These are systems that drive weather patterns across the globe. So for Zambia and Southern Africa, we tend to notice when we notice this phenomena, this climate system called El Nino. So probably I can also describe what it is. So the El Nino, we monitor the sea surface temperatures on the biggest ocean, which is the Pacific. So the state of the sea surface temperatures is an indication to us of how the climate is going to progress in the coming season for us, in the rain season especially. So now, when we have temperatures higher than average, we call it El Nino. And when we have that condition, and for us, that condition, we observe it in June, July, and August. So if we observe the El Nino conditions, which is the warming of the Central Pacific Ocean, if we observe it, then what we anticipate in the coming season is, for example, reduced rainfall, prolonged dry spells, and above average temperatures during our rainy season. So now what we are projecting, we haven't yet observed it, but it's a projection. So we run models that give us an indication what is likely to happen, how are the temperatures going to evolve. So currently we run several models that indicate to us, that give us a focus of how the Pacific Ocean temperatures are going to be. And we are confident in the models because 80% of them are giving us that we are going to have an El Nino condition. We are now, so for us, that is a clear picture. We have consensus that we are going to have an El Nino, especially for June, July, and August. And meaning that the implication is that we may likely to have reduced rainfall for the forthcoming season, the 2026-2027 rainy season.
Wonderful. So what are the expected weather patterns? Are we expecting the weather to be too warm, too cold?
So so when we have that El Nino condition, like I said, we tend to have reduced rainfall. The overall rainfall during the season is reduced. We also tend to have prolonged dry spells, especially at critical points during December, January, February period. We tend to have these long dry spells that affect all the sectors, from agriculture to water to health and many other sectors. But also, the impact is not uniform across the country. You find that many times when we have El Nino events, northern areas, the extreme northern parts of the country, northern province, parts of Luapula and some parts of Muchinga, tend to have above average rainfall, but there is a small portion. The bulk of the country, especially those where we have agricultural productivity, a lot of agricultural productivity like eastern, southern, central, Lusaka, western, tends to be more impacted in terms of reduced rainfall and a lot of dry spells and high temperatures. So basically that's what we anticipate when we have the El Nino events.
Okay, let's talk about the risks. What risks does the El Nino pose to Zambia's farming season and also in terms of food security?
So from historical perspective, like I've said, when we have the El Nino signal, we tend to have reduced rainfall. Now, for us, reduced rainfall, especially in those critical provinces which are very productive in terms of, especially for maize, you find that the yield goes down. That's from the historical records. Whenever we have an El Nino situation, we tend to have reduced yield. So that's one of the things that we should look out for. But for us, we are also saying that this information, we are giving it out much, much earlier so that we can plan, because there are certain things that we can do to, even in an El Nino condition, to still be very productive. So this is the information, the early warning information that we are giving out so that, for example, the agriculture sector can prepare to say, what can we do? There are several options, and we are discussing with our colleagues from agriculture sector, the experts, so that we can identify what are the options, for example, farmers can take, even during an El Nino situation. Because from our records as the Meteorological Department, even when we have El Nino situations, we still have enough rainfall. What disturbs the agricultural productivity is how that rainfall is distributed. So you find that it falls within a short period of time, and then we have dry conditions for a longer period. But if we are able to capture, for example, that rainfall and use it properly, then we can have a good yield. So those are some of the things that we are discussing and seeing what options can we give to our farming communities so that we build that resilience, but also we become productive even under adverse conditions such as the El Nino.
Wonderful. I know you've touched on this one, but I would like you to actually elaborate further. How will this El Nino influence rainfall distribution across Zambia's provinces?
Yes, so basically, the normally or typically when we have the El Nino condition, we tend to have southern province, one of the worst hit in terms of the dry spells and the amounts of rainfall that we receive. Eastern province, the southern parts of eastern province, central province, especially the western parts of central province, going into northern, into Copperbelt province, western province. So these are basically the areas that we have noted from historical records that tends to have stronger impacts. We have also noted that areas in northern province, especially the northern parts of the northern province and Luapula province, tends to have favorable conditions. So those are some of the things that we are anticipating in terms of the rainfall pattern. So reduced amount of rainfall cumulatively and long dry spells during the season, especially during the critical periods. So that's basically what we are expecting in terms of rainfall pattern and generally the climate. Also, temperatures tend to be higher than average during the rain season.
Awesome. We now go on a short break. Don't go away.
What's better than your bestie? A bestie with blockbusters and bedtime cartoons. GoTV streams your fave soaps, sports, and the loudest laughs. No extra charge, just internet connection. Your shows, your vibes, your anytime, anywhere bestie. GoTV Stream. Download it now.
Welcome back. This is Zambia Today. We are getting an update on the El Nino 2026 from Director of the Zambia Meteorological Department, Mr. Edson Konde. So, Director, given Zambia's reliance on hydropower, how will the El Nino actually affect electricity generation?
Well, again, from the historical perspective, we see that whenever we have an El Nino conditions, the critical basins that contribute, for example, to our major reservoirs for hydropower generation tend to receive less rainfall. If you look at for example, where we get most of the rains, the water to recharge the Kariba, it's starting from northwestern Angola there, and those are areas which receive reduced amounts of rainfall. So meaning that the available water to generate electricity also tends to reduce. And that's one of the impacts that we are also looking at. But I think, again, for us, we are sharing this information early enough so that we can plan together. We can look at what are the options. How can we conserve the water that we have now so that we don't have a critical impact or very adverse impact if we received less rainfall. So basically, from the historical perspective, that's what we tend to see. We tend to see reduced amount of rainfall, which impacts the amount of water available for us to generate hydropower.
Okay, so will urban areas like Lusaka affected differently? Will they be affected differently compared to rural areas when this experience of the El Nino comes?
Yes, so from our historical records, we tend to see that the rural communities tend to be affected immediately because they are dependent on rain-fed food. So meaning that if you have reduced rainfall, then it impacts them directly. For the urban communities, we tend to see reduced, for example, water levels, because if you don't have a lot of rainfall, it means your boreholes will dry, will have less water to give you. So those are some of the impacts. But also, because there's cascading effect. If we don't produce more, it means that even the food costs may go up because we don't have enough food. So they are different. They are all impacted. All communities, whether it's in the urban, it's in the rural area, except that they are impacted differently and probably at different times. The folks in the rural areas get to have the direct impact, and probably more severe because it hinges on their food security. In the urban areas, of course, it's water scarcity, but also issues of health, because there are certain diseases that we now start seeing because of reduced water and things like that. But generally, everyone is affected differently, but with the rural areas having the direct impact because of their activities, rain-fed activities. But for the urban areas, of course, differently affected. But at the end of the day, everyone needs to take action, needs to know what is coming, what has happened in the past. That's why we keep on referring to the past, so that we just don't speak in abstract terms, but we are linking it to what has been observed. When we have this El Nino impact, reduced rainfall, what does that mean on different communities? Reduced productivity, reduced power, which affects people that are doing businesses that depend on power production, for example, that depend on electricity. So those are some of the things that we are sharing now, so that again we can think together and see what actions can we take to minimize the impact of that comes with the reduced rainfall because of the El Nino.
Wonderful. So what then is government doing to actually prepare for this El Nino impact? And also, how should the communities prepare for this?
So I'll speak for what we are doing as the Meteorological Department under the Ministry of Green Economy and Environment. So we've started putting all this information together. Putting this information together, but also comparing with the past. What has happened in the past when we had these climate phenomena, so that from there now we can learn some lessons. So from our end, what we've done is we continue monitoring. By the way, we are not just monitoring the El Nino, because it's one of the things that drives or influences our rainfall pattern. We are also monitoring other systems that are likely to influence our rainfall pattern. So that's what we are doing. We are compiling this information and sharing with the sectors. We've been, for example, to the Zambezi River Authority to share with them and think together and see what are the scenarios that are likely to happen and how can they use those scenarios now to plan how they allocate water. We are working with our colleagues from agriculture to look at what are the options or advisories that we can generate to give to the farmers at different times to help them be productive. So those are some of the things for us that we are doing, generally generating early warning information and advisories with the sectors so that we support how they plan, how they respond to the coming rainfall season because of the impact of the El Nino that we are projecting.
Lastly, Director, even as we come to the end of the program, how does Zambia's situation compare with other Southern African countries facing the El Nino?
We say in our field that weather knows no boundary, the climate knows no boundary. So the impact is not, of course, uniform across but generally we tend to see the same impacts that I was talking about. Reduced amount of rainfall, long dry spells, high temperatures. So those are generally what we observe over the SADC when we have this situation. And of course, so that's the general pattern that we see. So there is no country which is better than the other. All of us are impacted of course, differently because of how we are, our exposure. But generally, those are the things that we see. Reduced amount of rainfall, long dry conditions, high temperatures, and we see the similarities in terms of the sectors that are impacted. It's agriculture, water resources, energy. So those are the things that we are, even as we are discussing currently under this forum, those are the sectors that we are looking at. How can we, what is likely to impact these sectors? They are very critical sectors. And what are the options in terms of planning? How can we reduce that impact that we have seen in the past? So that's generally that how we are looking at it.
Director, thank you so much for coming through to Zambia today.
Thank you for having me.
Viewers, there you have it. We have come to the end of Zambia today. This has been Faith Katai. On behalf of the entire Zanis production team, thank you for watching. Goodbye.